One of the most incredible things about Peppa's world is the bizarre theories that somehow make perfect sense within this universe. Will you be shocked by the details we're about to show you? Prison. Have you ever noticed that Miss Rabbit keeps all the characters in the cartoon trapped in a prison, and that they all work for her without even realizing it? It's not easy to talk about this, but the truth is that Rebecca Rabbit's aunt owns every single character you know. As the show itself has already shown, Miss Rabbit is the boss of every company that exists in this universe. She owns the supermarket, the pharmacy, the airport, the television station, and everything else you can imagine. The problem is that if she's the boss of all these businesses, then that means she never loses money, since everyone works for her companies and then uses their paychecks to shop at stores that also belong to Miss Rabbit. Do you understand how creepy that is? There isn't a single character who doesn't work for Miss Rabbit or isn't forced to buy things from her. Maybe that's unfair, don't you agree? And if someone doesn't like Miss Rabbit's services, what are they supposed to do to escape? If this theory scared you, get ready because there's a lot more coming.
You know what's starting. It's another awesome Cinewave!
Twin sister. Have you ever noticed that Peppa has a very good chance of having an evil twin sister? Some people think this is one of the craziest theories in the show, but it's actually not that hard to imagine something like this. One classic example is the episode where George gets sick and the main character doesn't even care. In fact, she gets angry because her little brother is coughing loudly and keeping her from sleeping. Another example was when she argued with George because he wanted to watch his favorite TV show, or the times when the little pig put her parents in difficult situations, like jumping out of an airplane. The Peppa we know is a kind and caring girl. She wouldn't do those kinds of things, but the show constantly puts the main character in situations like these. A clue about what might be happening appears on Mummy Pig's computer screen, where we can see the score rankings of a game the children enjoy. The seventh and final spot on the list shows the initials of a character we don't know, someone with the letters O and P. Could we be talking about Olivia Pig? A little pig who is Peppa's secret sister? What do you think about that? Clones. Maybe this sister theory has nothing to do with it, but what if Peppa and George are actually clones? What if all the children in the show are clones? It's not difficult to imagine since Miss Rabbit has thousands of copies spread all over the place. Now, if you think that's impossible, let us remind you that Peppa's show has been on the air for more than 20 years, and nothing has changed since then. The problem is that we've already had several Christmas episodes, as if many years had gone by, and yet Peppa is still 4 years old. The theory says that the adults in this universe are trying to make the children grow up, but something keeps taking the lives of their kids. Maybe Peppa Pig's society is going through serious problems, which is why humans don't exist and the children never grow up. Maybe it's a terrible disease that takes the lives of the youngest ones. That's why it seems like time never passes. They are repeated copies of children who are already gone. That's terrible. Humans. Speaking of humans, where do you think they are? Can't imagine it? What if we told you that, in reality, the characters in Peppa Pig are modified human beings? This is a very bizarre theory, but in a way it makes sense. What explains animals walking on 2 legs and behaving like people? The theory says that something terrible happened in the past, something like a war or an incurable disease, and the way humans managed to continue existing was by transferring their minds into mammal animals, such as pigs and sheep. Then they evolved and built a new society. That's why we don't see many humans, and it's also why the animals can talk and drive cars. Could this actually be true? This theory could make a lot of sense, but then why does the queen remain human? Maybe she's immune. Maybe we'll never find out. If you were a character in Peppa Pig, which animal would you like to be? Comment #pig so we can get to know you.
Divorce. Can you believe that Mummy Pig and Daddy Pig's marriage may be at risk and that they could end up separating?
This is one of the strangest theories in the Peppa universe, but it's not one of the craziest. In fact, it makes a lot of sense. Mummy Pig mistreats her husband. There was the day when she forgot it was Father's Day and even let the children give him a terrible gift, a cereal cake with ketchup. Mummy Pig also lets Peppa do mean things to her father, like calling him fat and forbidding him from entering the treehouse Grandpa Pig built for her. One of the worst moments was in the Valentine's Day episode, when she handed the romantic card to the mail carrier instead of Daddy Pig. Of course, in the end, the card reached its original owner, who was Peppa's father, but it was still rude of Mummy Pig not to hand the Valentine's Day card directly to her husband and instead let someone else do it. Daddy Pig does a lot for the family and unfortunately isn't appreciated. That's why we believe he may eventually ask his wife for a divorce when he finally gets tired of being treated so unfairly. Will that really happen? Crime. Have you ever realized that Mr. Potato is actually a cannibal? I mean, a vegetable that eats other vegetables is definitely a criminal, isn't it? On the day he comes to Peppa's town to open a gym, Mr. Potato tells the children that they should eat broccoli, tomatoes, and all kinds of salads. salad. He only gets really embarrassed when Peppa asks whether they should eat potatoes too. And Super Potato isn't any better. He has a song on his TV show where he says that vegetables keep people alive and that everyone should eat at least 5 kinds of vegetables every day. The problem is that in Peppa's world, there are vegetables that are just like people. They talk, walk around, and have feelings. In other words, Mr. Potato is eating vegetables that are just like him. And not only is that a crime, it's also really disgusting. Somebody should do something about this. Grandpa Rabbit, still talking about Mr. Potato, did you know that the simple fact that he exists already creates all kinds of bizarre theories? Our creepy theory is that this character is a creation of Grandpa Rabbit. Just like all the talking vegetables in this universe are scientific experiments created by Miss Rabbit's father. He's a brilliant scientist, as we've seen on many occasions. And as we've already shown, Mr. Potato and Super Potato are celebrities. They have television shows, and the Rabbit family owns the TV channel the characters watch. Do you see where this is going? Grandpa Rabbit created these talking vegetables to get attention on television. It makes sense. And that's not all. What you may not have noticed is that Grandpa Rabbit may have been trying to create giant vegetables, since rabbits are crazy about carrots and everything that grows in a garden, but the experiment went wrong and the potatoes started talking. Weird, isn't it? Freddy, have you ever noticed that Freddy Fox doesn't like his own father? And this is a very bizarre and sad theory about the show, but we know that it is actually true. One thing everyone has already noticed is that Mr. Fox is a thief. He tried to rob Grandpa Rabbit's house. He robbed Madame Gazelle's school fundraiser, not to mention that he owns a shop with some very suspicious products. Now, if you take that information and remember that Freddy's dream in life is to become a police officer, you'll realize that this family has a huge problem ahead of them. If Freddy is going to become a police officer and he knows his father is a thief, then there can only be one outcome between them. Freddy will arrest Mr. Fox, and that's very sad because they are father and son. Out of all the theories, this is one of the ones fans are most afraid of seeing happen. What do you think?
And if you're not subscribed yet, you know what to do. Click and hit the bell so you don't miss any videos.
Dottie. Speaking of not liking relatives, you know that Aunt Dottie doesn't like her nieces and nephews, right? In the episode Shiny Wheel Horse, she sent her nieces and nephews a toy that was very dangerous, and she did it knowing there was a real chance it could seriously hurt the children. Aunt Dottie grew up in the same town where Peppa lives, but she moved to the United States when she was younger. That means she knows that the toy, a horse on wheels, would be dangerous in a town full of steep hills. The show itself showed Daddy Pig getting into an accident with that toy. We don't know why Aunt Dottie did that, but we do have a clue. In Daddy Pig's office, there is an old photograph showing him standing next to a girl who appears to be Aunt Dottie because of the polka dot dress that she still wears. If Aunt Dottie is jealous of her sister for marrying the pig she liked when she was a child, then it makes sense that she wouldn't like her nieces and nephews. Now, whether that's true has never been confirmed, but it is a pretty creepy theory, don't you agree?
Milk. You've probably seen the characters in Peppa's world drinking milk. So far, that's completely normal because they are mammals, just like human beings. But once the children grow up, they only drink cow's milk. And in Peppa's world, Mrs. Cow is a person. The question is, where exactly do they get the milk they drink? Our least bizarre theory is that the milk is plant-based. Let's hope that's the case, because every other possibility is pretty terrible to think about. Carol Cow. Speaking of milk and cows, did you know that Mrs. Cow may have given her own daughter away for another character to raise? In the episode featuring Mrs. Cow's wedding, her daughter wasn't there, and that makes absolutely no sense. And we know where she is. In the New York episode, Carol Cow appears on the street next to a bus, walking with another Mrs. Cow wearing a pink dress, while her own mother, wearing a yellow dress, appears inside the bus driving away. Now, was the little calf really sent away from home? That's one of the mysteries of the series. Mr. Gazelle. And finally, one of the creepiest theories about Peppa's world is that Madame Gazelle's husband may be a dangerous vampire who will appear at the end of the series to haunt everyone. There are portraits of him throughout the world of the show, showing that he is an old character, and we already know that the teacher is a vampire. Could Madame Gazelle actually be married to Count Dracula? We'll find out in the future, but until then, stay with us to learn everything about your favorite animated shows.
It's almost over, but until then, you can stay with us. There are 2 super fun videos waiting for you. Thanks, and see you next time.